etaṃ visesato ñatvā, appamādamhi panditā, Appamāde pamodanti, ariyānaṃ gocare ratā. Having known this distinctly or altogether, those who are skilled in vigilance, in carefulness, in not being negligent, rejoice in vigilance, in carefulness, delighting in the pasture of the noble ones, of those who do what is good, right, and ideal. So we start off here verbally with an absolutive, and this ñatvā comes from jānāti, and of course in English we get, words like know, knowledge, gnosis in Greek, having known, and maybe we'll just leave it at having known this. Now you might think, why am I selecting etaṃ when it is clearly the variant reading as opposed to Evaṃ? If we go with Evaṃ, it means thus, having known thus. I think the reason I'm taking this one is because it is found in these four canons. The Sinhalese, or from Sri Lanka, from Thailand, from Cambodia, and the Pali Text Society seem to prefer etaṃ. So I'm just sort of going with that one. It doesn't drastically alter the meaning or the understanding. But I think etaṃ would refer back to verse 21. So this is the accusative. It's the object of ñatvā. Having known this altogether, visesato is the ablative singular from visesa, which means something like distinction, mark of excellence, splendor, extraordinary state. And you might even supply it. I mean, the Pali English Dictionary suggests that the ablative is to be taken adverbially, altogether or distinctly. But it's interesting, we are reading poetry here. So having known this from, an extraordinary state, or due to an extraordinary state. Now here's our actual subject of the verse, panditā. This is where we get our English word pundit. But unlike the word pundit, which I think has some negative connotations maybe, panditā, or in the singular pandito, I think is someone who is skilled, clever, wise, and this is our nominative, masculine nominative plural, those who are the wise ones, or those who are skilled. And they are skilled in appamādamhi. This is our locative singular, one of the forms of the locative singular, skilled in vigilance. This is what we talked about in verse 21. Skilled in not being negligent, in being careful. You might also, I suppose, if you thought about this as being wise, those who are wise in or wise due to, De Roysel mentions that the locative can be used to denote like kind of the cause, and I think ablative is used that way too. But here, skilled in vigilance, that sort of makes sense. Skilled in vigilance, carefulness. This is our subject, they rejoice, and this is our third person plural, present active indicative. Pamodanti would be the third person singular. They rejoice in, and I think this is the more common locative ending, but these are exactly the same words and meaning. They rejoice in vigilance, in carefulness. Ratā, and this is an adjective, delighting in, and we would expect the locative after this, delighting in, the root of this is ram, to delight in, or to delight. Delighting in gocare. So this is our locative singular. This is go, cow, plus chara, like a going about. So where cows go about, a pasture. They delight in the pasture. And then ariyānaṃ. This is our genitive plural, masculine genitive plural of ariyā. And now this, if you think about, this word gives us the word Aryan. And to me, especially because of World War II, Aryan has taken on a very sort of, it just leaves a bad taste in the mouth. That obviously was not the case at the time of the Buddha. The Aryans were the noble ones. But going beyond that, the Aryans, or the noble ones, they're the ones who do what is right, good, and ideal. It's almost as if they're saying those are, like Buddhists. That's the point that the Pali English Dictionary mentions. It's not quite exact, but the point is there was no word for Buddhist or, a person who follows the Buddhist teaching. So this comes in, this is pretty close. And it would probably be anyone who was, a Hindu or just someone who followed the teaching. So anyway, I'll leave that there. But this isn't like the noble ones in terms of wealth or something. This noble one, or the noble ones being referred to here, are those who do what is good, right, and ideal, which is the Dharma, those who live life according to the Dharma. So I like this idea of the pasture. It's definitely injects a very poetic feel to this. Otherwise, not that there's nothing, I don't want to say this is prosaic, but this is very, gocare, pasture, just seems like all of a sudden we have this or it's something that we wouldn't really take literally. So I will leave it to you, dear listener, to think about what that means, and as will I, and I would love to hear comments. I had a really good comment yesterday on the first verse of the Dhammapada, that is actual verse 1, and the person really had dug down deep and had a good had gone beyond the literal understanding of that verse. And I think that's the idea. We learned that in verse 20, that we want to move. We don't want, or what we learn is someone who recites a little bit of the canon, still, if they've overcome passion, hatred, and delusion, that they are the ones who are living life according to the Dharma, the teaching, what is good and true and beautiful. And that's what we want to do. We're trying to move beyond just the literal here. We're trying to infuse our life with this understanding. And, we set the goal is the deathless state. We set that in front of us, and we sort of work towards that.